Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Think Big podcast. I gotta say, is it the Think Big podcast if we don't start a few minutes after 5 o'clock? I am convinced we are going to need to change the start time from 5 p.m. Arizona time to 5 o'clock ish, because that seems to be around when we get started. We get started around 5 o'clock ish. Right now, I believe Sam is stuck in traffic, so we're gonna go ahead and we're going to get this episode started off without him. I know he's got a lot of things he wants to share tonight, so it's going to be exciting when he does jump in. But I'm excited about tonight's podcast in general because we're going to be talking about a topic that I don't see often discussed. And it's something that your favorite gurus, your favorite thought leaders, your favorite entrepreneurs who have strong social media followings, this is something that they utilize in their business and in their brand to grow exponentially. And we're talking about stages. So, what is stages? Stages is being able to get in front of one to many. It's you being able to speak in front of an audience to help sell product, to help build brand awareness, to help get more deals done, to create credibility, to create authenticity or authority inside of your marketplace. And what's interesting is people think stages happens haphazardly. Like it's just coincidence if a person starts getting booked to speak on tour, if a person starts going on more podcasts, if you start to see your favorite influencers coming together. It's not by accident, it's not by coincidence. It is very, very intentional. And tonight, we're going to be breaking down some of the intentionality behind that. And so before I begin, I just want to know in the comments, how many of you have desires that you want to one day go on stage and you want to one day speak? You want to perhaps share about your passion, whether it's business, whether it's finances, whether it's personal development, or it's some other niche. How many of you have that desire inside of you that one day you're going to take information and experiences and you're going to share it with other people so that they can learn and grow? I hope many of you have that experience or have that desire, because I know personally I had that desire. I know Sam has had that desire. And that's what made us even start this podcast. Like, how can we figure out a way to give back to people at a high level? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump into it. And there we go. Savan says, I want to share my story to immigrant communities. I freaking love that. So what we're going to do is, and I'm just looking over at some of my notes here. We're going to talk about why speak on stages. Like why is that a skill that you ought to develop? And ultimately, when we talk about why to speak on stages, oh, look at that. I just see someone here. When we talk about why to speak on, what's up, bud?
Sorry about that.
Dude, I'm digging the hat. I don't think I've ever seen you wear that hat before.
I've got 8 of them in different colors. It's
I,
Roger's hat.
I love it, man. Well, dude, I was just kind of bringing up the topic on why even it's important to aspire to speak on stages. Like, what's the point of it? Because it is something that, you and I have had this conversation in the past where we look at some of the entrepreneurs that we look up to, and they have chosen in the last 12, 24 months and going forward into the future to really double down on building their audience, on doing that efficiently, effectively, and ultimately they see it as one of the most important assets they can have. And the vehicle in which they're using to do that isn't just like running ads on Facebook. It's not just pumping out reels on Instagram. It's actually the down and dirty, getting in the trenches and going on stage, visiting their people, being in person. And you've had the experience over the last, 18 months or so, speaking on over 32 stages. I was actually calculating, and I've been on just a little over 20 stages in the last time frame as well. So, let's talk about why it's important. Why does it matter to even go out and speak on stages?
Dude, huge. Okay, so I have a lot of different opinions on this. I hold varying opinions, and I would say a lot of the opinions that I hold are very specific to who you are and what you're trying to achieve. Now, I want everyone to be clear here. You can go make millions and never speak on a stage. In fact, you can make billions and never speak on a stage, whether it's virtual or physical. The true reality is speaking on stages can become a tremendous boosting factor in growing your business, growing your brand, growing your reputation, pretty much growing anything you want. Um, it is just a lot of people, I think, sometimes assume just because it's social media. And social media, the people who go big are the people who speak on stages typically. And so we assume that speaking on stages is it's like a necessary task to make it big. And I would actually want everyone to know it's like you don't have to. For the people who are nervous about speaking on stages, who don't necessarily, it may not resonate with you, it is not the only path to success. But it is undeniable that it is an amazing path to success, that it can help that journey along so fast, so quickly. But if you want to, and I want people to understand this. Every time you do anything, you go online on social media, you make a post, you post a story, a reel, you make a Facebook post, you do a live podcast, you're virtual, you go viral, you speak to someone in a Facebook post, or you even go live on YouTube like we are right now. All that's happening fundamentally is you are reaching new people. Like that is the goal. It's you are reaching new people and or showcasing your culture, your vision, who you are with the people who are seeing you. And then you're building trust. Like I think, Marlon, it's safe to say that the two most important things, it's reach is probably the number one thing that we all go after. It's can we get in front of new eyeballs? And then two, simultaneously, probably not even like after, it's just as important. It's can we get in front of new people? And then can we build trust with everyone who knows us and everyone who's getting in front of us, who's new? And so we always want to, at the end of the day, not just get people to know our names. We want them to like us, trust us, want to do things with us, whatever that may be, whether it's doing real estate deals or private money lending, or, you have a course to sell and you want to sell it to someone, whatever it is. We're in the game of trust whenever we do anything online. And it is my opinion that there is probably nothing more effective than in building trust than getting on a physical stage, right? Because it's like podcasting is amazing. We love podcasting. You and I have been doing it for years. And the reality is like people who watch us and consume our content and show up to our lives and all things that are my signature master classes or the challenges or webinars that we do, people will build trust with us and they will love us for the value that we put out. But there is something weirdly intangible about going and seeing someone physically in person. There is something unique about that energy. And then if you can, carry a stage event and then do a meet and greet where you're actually shaking people's hands, giving them hugs, loving on them, there is something that becomes really, it's like a glue that brings people together. And I think and you and I chatted about this when we did this episode not too long ago about AI and the implications of AI for everyone, not just for real estate investors, but for coaches, people who are selling stuff online, people who want to go big. The reality is, I think speaking on stages, especially physical stages, not just like virtual stages, right? It's physical stages. I think that is going to be a big differentiating factor over the next 2-3 years in who's able to build the best communities, the best programs, have the best businesses, gain the most private capital, do the most deals. And it's because as the world trends towards more AI and more artificial, humans will innately subconsciously crave more actual human contact. And then you can listen to us online all the time. And guys, just so you guys know, some of the biggest creators in this space, half their content now is completely AI generated, and you would have no clue. Now, your subconscious knows something's off. It doesn't feel right. Something about it feels off. But when you go meet them in person, and then you take a photo together, you take a selfie, and then you get to tell them about your story, tell them about how you've been, following their advice and you're getting results. What ends up happening is the trust level goes through the roof. And so I think as the world trends towards more and more artificial, more and more digital, I think we will then start to crave human connectivity more than ever. And it's like, okay, let's go ahead and we'll keep coming back to this.
Well, yeah, and by the way, I have a feeling that tonight, because like I have a feeling I'm gonna be like bumping in with like little things. Like I have notes in no particular order. So audience, forgive me. Tonight you're going to be getting like the things that I think are the most important, but not in a particular order. But it really comes back to your point on the getting there in person. I don't know do you listen to a lot of rap? I know I don't know if you listen to a lot of rap.
Depends on who's rapping.
Do you listen to Russ? You know the artist Russ?
Mm-mm.
All right, so I love listening to Russ. Great rapper. His fan base is like one of the strongest fan bases out there, and he grew his fan base by literally never stopping going on tour. And he recognized this. And if you I look into the music industry sometimes for inspiration, even though I'm not necessarily a musician. I do see the ones who blow up aren't always necessarily even the best artist. They are the ones who have the most connected fan base, and the way they build that fan base is literally one city at a time, one show at a time. It's by going out there and physically being among the people. And what I discovered is in entrepreneurship, when you look at a lot of the entrepreneurs who have had this catastrophic, not catastrophic, but exponential growth, and they leveraged social media to do so, they didn't just stay online. They did make it a point to do a lot of IRL, which is what you're using now as a term, in real life. They did in real life meetups. They did in real life workshops. They did in real life stage speaking. They did in real life conferences. And those were the places where they truly took ownership of their audience. They really solidified the audience. And so just keeping that in mind, because I think when I talk, I don't know about you. I know you get a lot more tactical questions. I get a lot more of the interpersonal mindset, personal development questions. And a lot of it is centered around people. When I talk to them about what their end goal is, they're like, I want to be able to influence other people, right? Like, I want to be able to teach my next generation how to build financial literacy, how to have a better life, how to become a person who's happier, more confident, all of these things. And I'm like, well, if you want to be able to do that, what you have to be able to do, quite frankly, is you need to be able to get people to follow you. You need to be able to be a leader. And the reality is, I see a lot of people's stuff, their reels on IG, and it's cool, but I don't really connect with a person until I actually connect with a person. When I go to their conference, or I go and I hear them speak, there's something about when I finally see them in person that it solidifies that relationship that I now have with them. So just wanted to throw that out there because it is interesting, because it's important. It is important if that's a part of your goal. To Sam's point, do you need to do that to make money? No, we know silent entrepreneurs. I just met a guy last week. You know him, Matt Proud. He and I were at a networking event, and he literally, like, he stays out of the limelight, and the dude is doing 8 figures a year. Like, but he stays out of the limelight. So, but let's keep going here. Let's keep going on the importance of stage speaking, though, for the people that this is of interest to them. I think tonight's going to speak to a very particular crowd.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's I want to hit on this. So I'm gonna be very real here for you guys. And I know Marlon's the best at talking about the interpersonal side of things, connecting with people, influencing people. I tend to look at things from a very, very like strategic standpoint. And so for me, I also like to look at strategic sustainability, whether or not something is worth it to continue doing. Because the reality is this, guys, like let's get into some actual logistics, because this is something that I've never heard anyone talk about publicly. And the ones who do, they're like professional, like stage guys. No one in the industry is gonna openly talk about like how they get on stages, what it costs, what it looks like, this, that, and the other. And so I would like to dispel some myths, and also because I get a lot of people who come to me and they want to know what it's like to speak on stage. What does it take? How do they get the opportunities? How much does it cost? Do they have to pay? Do they get paid? All of these things. And I would love to be able to point them back to this video where we can answer a lot of the logistical side of things too, because I think it's really helpful. Number one, you don't have to pay to be on stage. And I'll be very real here with you guys. Understand that there are physical stages that are a meetup of 30 people. That is a physical stage that counts. Why? Because you're on stage and you're speaking and you're hopefully influencing people and you're working on your craft. Those are your practice stages. They're so important. And I was having a chat with Pace Morby a long time ago, and he was like, people thought I showed up 5 years ago when I founded Sub2. That's what he said. He's like, they were wrong. It's not when I showed up. I showed up 2-3 years prior to that, when I was traveling the country speaking on stages to rooms of 15 people and no one knew who the hell I was. That is why I'm where I'm at now. And the reason why I did 32 physical stages in 18 months, it was me paying the toll of working on the craft, working on storytelling, working on meeting people, working on all these unique little nuanced things that matter if you want to go really, really, really big. You need that compound effect that you can't cheat. You can't cheat that compound effect. You need time and volume. And so the raw reality is this, is there are stages that are small where they have 15 to 30 people show up. It is, honest to God, not even an event. It is a meetup. Okay. Guess what? That's going to be your bread and butter in the beginning. That's going to be your bread and butter. Those are your practice rounds where you can totally screw up, have a new script, a new speech, try out new things. And like, that's your test crowd to really kind of figure out how this looks like to speak on stages. And fun fact, when you go do those, half the time there won't even actually be a stage. It'll be like a meetup at a bar or a restaurant, or, you know, like just a
Your
park.
local Applebee's.
Dude, it's literally, you're gonna be at freaking IHOP at 2 a.m. preaching on, you know, in a booth, and like it still counts. Like they're still gonna put you on the flyer. You were gonna be the guest speaker. Then there's like the mid-range events, right, where it's 100 people. They've been doing it for a year, 2 years. They actually have like a contract with the venue. It may not be massive. They may have a videographer. They may actually have like a mic and speakers and all these things. And that's going to be like, your goal is to get out of those meetup kind of ranges, right? In the beginning, you do 5, 10, 15 of them, and then you really start making your rounds and people start paying attention to the fact that you're speaking. And you'll eventually get to the 50 person to 100 person room, maybe a couple hundred. And then eventually you're going to get into like the bigger rooms where it's like 100-200 people, like at an absolute minimum. They understand what they're doing. They've got social media presences for this event. They have everything dialed in, QR codes everywhere, merch, stuff like that. Like, this is a sustainable business for these folks. Okay. And then after that, then you get into like the conferences, speaking at someone's event where they're like, people are paying to be there. We'll get into that a little bit later, because that stuff is like where things get really, I don't want to say political, but I want people to understand there is an agenda to that room.
It gets
in the beginning. Yeah, it's very intentional. And so in the beginning, when you're just speaking on and meetups and small events, the goal for you, it's like, you're not going to, and guys, I want to be very clear here. For anyone that is speaking on stages or trying to get on stages and you were not the one throwing the event, let me be clear here. If you are not the host, do not try to sell shit on someone else's stage. I'll be like, biggest cardinal sin. And we always, Marlon, you and I always see new guys who want to speak on stage. They go and finally they've been making the rounds, telling the world, manifesting it. They get on stage and they get on someone else's stage who gave them the grace to stand on their stage. And then what do they go up, do a little
try
thing,
to pitch their own product, and
they try to
like,
pitch their own shit.
yeah.
And it's like, all you're doing is biting the hand that feeds you. So I want you all to understand that when you are speaking on someone else's stage, like, rule number one, what's rule number one of the 48 laws of power?
Never outshine the master.
Never outshine the master. And the master of the event isn't you, even if you're the keynote on the flyer. It's the person who's been planning this event for months, putting money, time, energy, attention, right? Because this event, it's not about you. It's actually about them. And your goal, number one, as Tim Yu says it, is before you serve the audience, you should serve the host. And if you're good at it, you will do both at the exact same time.
Yep.
And why do we want to make sure, like, a lot of times, people are going to think, Sam, well, we're only supposed to serve the audience. They're the ones that matter. Yeah. If you want to never get re-invited, the host needs to get what they want out of the event, right? They need to like have this be a benefit to them. They're not doing this usually for free. And like the ones who are, they're eventually, they all, they all wise up and decide we're going to start selling something at some point to make it worth it. And so understand, cardinal rule number one is never outshine the master, but do not use, like, you getting on someone's stage is not your opportunity to sell your own stuff. It is your opportunity to serve the host, to serve the audience. You do that right. Here's the fun fact. You do it right at a really, really high level, you will get invited back. And you and I know this because you and I love speaking on stages. We, like, Marlon and I have traveled the country, like literally West Coast, East Coast, all the way to Puerto Rico, where we've spoken on stages together. And we have watched each other speak, taken notes, critiqued each other, practiced. But I think bar none, the number one metric we know on like if we knocked it out of the park is whether or not we get re-invited to speak next year.
Yeah,
That's it.
100%.
That is your number one goal. It is not to crush it, not to get a ton of social media content. Like all that stuff matters. You want to know if you crush it on stage, you'll know if you get re-invited, and like you'll know because if you crush it, the host will send you a 45-minute audio message after the next day being like, you were the best speaker I've ever seen, this, that, and the other. We want to have you back. We'll fly you out, blah, 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 blah. That's your number one goal. I want people to be understanding here. And a lot of people think they want to be public speakers because they want to make money. You hear about guys who like Ed Milet who get paid $100,000 plus to speak on stage. Okay, professional speakers, Goggins, Milet, Jordan Peterson. I don't know how much he charges right now, but I know it ain't cheap. These people all charge tons of money to speak on stages. Here's the reality. And I'm saying this including myself here. You're not Goggins. You're not Ed Milet. You're not Dr. Jordan Peterson. Hell, you're not Pace Morby. You're not Jamil Damji. So I want everyone to understand that when you're speaking, the goal should not be how do I make money and how do I charge for showing up, right? Unless you come in with the most insane value proposition and you've done something awesome. The reality is they are giving you a blessing by letting you speak to a new audience. And so when I see new guys, there's this knucklehead of a guy who's trying to do the things and trying to go big and he's getting ahead of himself. And then he just got invited to speak on a stage and then he tried to send them a price sheet. Never spoken on stage before. Never really done anything. Probably owns a few $1 million of real estate, but that's about it. And I'm like, dude, you haven't even made $1 million like in a year yet. Who are you charging? Why are you charging? Why do you think you've deserved that? You've earned that. You're not good enough to drive that as a requirement. So in the beginning, understand guys, your first 20, 30, 40, 50, like realistically, it might even be 100 events. You're not going to be paying or you're not going to get paid to be there. Like you'll be lucky if they like pay for your flight and like maybe accommodate you at a hotel. Like that's, and then feed you. Like that's awesome. I think Marlon and I, we've both turned down money and we've both turned down flights. We both turned down hotels. Like our big thing is like, dude, if we'll show up on our own dime because we want to support our friends, but we're like, dude, feed us. Like that's always like, give us food 100%. Here's the other thing, guys. And I want you guys to think about this. When you get invited to speak on a stage or you want to speak on a stage, I want you to, more than anything, it's not just serve the host, it's take care of that person. Your goal is to understand that the value, it's in the audience 100%, sure. But you have more opportunity, not speaking to that audience of 50 people or 100 people, you have more opportunity becoming best friends with a guy who's doing the events because he's going to do more. And if you help him along his journey, his event's going to get bigger. There's going to be more and more people. And it's only a matter of time before that 50-person audience turns into a 500-person audience. How do I know this? One of my all-time favorite human beings on earth is Richard Knowles. I love Richard Knowles. He is the leader of Southern California. I've spoken on his stage 3 times now. It's something that like I'm very, very fortunate about. I think there's only one person who's spoken at that stage like more than me, and it's freaking Pace. And I'm like, I take a great amount of pride in that. I remember when I first spoke there, maybe like 70 to 100 people. By the 3rd time I rolled out to speak there, it was like the record set for that specific event. It was over 200 people live. And then they just did another event and they're having like 300 people. They're going to have 500 really soon. And they have to go find another venue. And so what I want you to understand is there's more leverage for you in the relationship with the event host than any one person in the audience. And that is something, if you understand that specifically, help them make money, help them grow. Because as they grow, the law of reciprocity is a real powerful thing, and it will help you as well. And so, and I want to be real here, guys. I'm going to say this. I'm going to take a page out of Stratton's book because Stratton's absolutely right when it comes down to this stuff. If you haven't done anything, like, and this is not, and I don't mean to be mean, because I know a lot of people, they're going to be hurt by this. If you haven't accomplished shit, you're not ready to speak on stages. Marlon and I talk about this a lot, and there's a lot of like marketers and content guys who talk about this a lot right now. We're in what we'd call a trust recession, meaning that people don't trust people they see online anymore. Inherently, if you were a talking head online, inherently people have guards up because they know everyone is selling them. Every other person's running a scam. Actually, most people are scamming people, and or their product sucks. It's complete crap. And so right now we already have an over like a red ocean of crappy people trying to get on stages saying stuff that they have no merit or backing for. And I love this. This is something straight out of Hormozi's book. People look at Tom Bilyeu. What's Tom Bilyeu's podcast?
Impact Theory.
Impact Theory. That's right. It's like something theory. So everyone's like, oh man, I want to be like Tom Bilyeu. I have the podcast. I built out this studio. I spent, tons of money on it. I'm doing Tom Bilyeu things. And then Alex is like, yeah, but you just forgot to build Quest. Like, that's it. You want to have a Warren Buffett play, you walk and say the exact same thing Warren Buffett says or Dave Ramsey says. You walk around and say all of the same taglines, but you forgot to also own Berkshire Hathaway. Like, that's kind of the key point. And so I want people to understand this, and this is not like a negative thing. This is I am holding you to a high standard, and if you meet this high standard, the world will open up to you. I absolutely swear. Alex Hormozi was doing the Game podcast for 4 or 5 years consistently, and no one ever gave a damn. Micro gym owners, that's it. The only ones who gave a damn. And he credits his blowing up of that podcast to 2 things. One, he stopped talking about micro gyms and started going to general business. That was probably like a content thing. It started applying to more people. But his real answer, he sold a business for $46.2 million. All of a sudden, what you say matters. Why? Because you've got the resume to back up that you're not just talking out of your ass. You actually have something that's worthwhile because you've done the thing. And so if you have aspirations to speak on stage, like dream really big. But right now, I want you to also have the discipline to say, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to do something so damn big that I will have a story that is worth telling on stage. And here's the key, guys. It's a story that actually happened, not a story that we're fluffing, not a story that we're making up, not a story that other gurus are getting crucified for because all these lies catch up. And and Marlon and I, because we're so connected, we know, like, half the time we go to an event, we'll know everyone on, like, every speaker on that panel or that series of events. Like, we'll have met them all. We'll have usually pretty deep personal connections with people in their camps. And Marlon and I will, like, hear people speak on stage and we're like, yeah, that was a lie. You didn't do that. We know this. Like, you're bullshitting. And then the ones who just are, like, super ethical, super on it, like, the fun fact is they still get the same crowd reaction. They still get the same love from the audience, and they didn't have to compromise their integrity to do so. And so I want people to be aware, if you haven't done anything, it's okay. Just go do the damn thing and do it so damn big that when you do get on stage, you have a story that is epic and it's worth telling. And then people will pay attention. And here's the truth, guys. When you've done something, like this is why I keep bringing this back up with Alex and the 46.2 million sale. He talks about it all the time. He talks about the private equity company. He even names them. You can go look it up. It's one of his biggest flexes, the fact that you can Google the sale. And, like, so no one can take it away from him. And so when you speak on stage, and guys, whether or not you can truly connect with an audience, every person in the audience, it's actually based on how much they inherently believe you. And if you're speaking on stage and you're speaking, no matter how passionate you are, but you're speaking inauthentically, there's a lack of conviction behind it, maybe, right? The audience can spot that. They can feel it. Something just isn't right. They may not know exactly that you're lying, but they may not trust you. But then when you've done the thing, and you've built Berkshire Hathaway, you've built Quest and sold it for $1 billion or whatever they sold it for, or you build acquisition.com, or you sell Gym Launch for $46.2 million to a California PE firm in the Bay Area. You talk and speak with a conviction. You have an aura and an energy to you that is undeniable, and every person in that audience will be bought in. And Marlon and I know this because we study speakers and we see it, and we're just like, they didn't say anything unique. It's just the energy they had because they were living authentically. And so let's talk about getting into how do we get opportunities. So I want to get into some more tactical stuff. So whether it's a podcast or a stage, the bigger they are, the more established they are, the more sustainable, like the more they've been running, just know that it's usually a business. There is a business behind the scenes. They are very aware of this. They know exactly how much it costs, exactly which sponsors they need to have, exactly what their return's going to be. It is a business run through and through, especially the good ones. So I want you guys to know straight up, the biggest podcast that you guys see online on social media that you think you have to absolutely be a killer to be on, most of them just have a fee. Like, that is straight up it. You can just pay to be on the podcast. It is very much a pay to play. You just have to go through the application. They're still going to do a little mini interview with you, see if you're the right fit, hear your story, right? Is it always like an amazing filter? Sometimes not, but it's enough of a filter. And I think people forget or don't realize they don't have the discernment to find out that a lot of these podcasts, you just pay to be on.
Yep.
And fun fact, you'll know this because there's like a cycle. You can actually track a lot of influencers and look at, like, when they start speaking, they'll do the meetups, they'll do the free events, then eventually they'll do the 2-3 day conference events. Then they'll eventually go and do the big media blitz, and they'll speak on all the same 5 podcasts, like one after the other. And you're like, how'd you get all of those done in the same 6 months? Because you set aside a $50,000 budget. Like, there you go. That's the raw truth of it. Doesn't mean that you have to pay. Do you have to pay to play? No. My 32 events in 18 months, a handful of those events, probably about 5 to 10 of those events, were events where they charged other speakers to speak. And they didn't pay, just so you guys know. It's like people think they hear public speaking, like, oh, they'll pay you to speak. No, there's events where if you don't have a brand, you don't have a lot of leverage, you actually pay them to speak. You pay them to go on stage, do your thing, try to get the branding, try to sell your stuff. If you've got a sponsor segment or whatever. I think about 5 to 10 of them out of the 32 that I did, they charged people to speak. I made a commitment to myself because I was working on the craft and I wanted to be worthy of the stage without having to cheat my way there, that I wasn't going to pay. I refuse to pay. I'll pay for my flights. I'll pay for my hotels. I'll pay for my food. I'll pay to be there, but I will not pay you to speak on your stage because I don't want to bribe you to have the opportunity. I want to make sure I'm worthy of the opportunity first. And so, to be very real with you guys, if I just said F that and I'm just going to go ahead and pay to play, I probably would have spoken like 50 to 100 stages in that 18 months, just because it's so much easier to get access. You can take that, like, it's not right or wrong in my opinion. It's whatever personal opinion you have about it. Marlon, I don't know. I'd imagine you'd also view it's like whether you go for the invite on your merit or you pay to play. I think it's
Yeah, for me, it's intention. I mean, like, I personally wouldn't pay to go speak on stages, similar to, like, I wouldn't pay to get followers on social media, but some people do. And if you've got a worthwhile intention and you can explain to me your game plan, okay, it's justifiable. But if you're doing it because you need the external validation, then, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to land you nowhere pretty quickly. And people see through the BS, they feel through the BS. So it might be you're going to fool the people that can be fooled, but that, like, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a dead end street.
Yeah, I would say almost always that the most I don't want to say ethical, but the most, like, appropriate time to be spending is if you are going representing a very specific business, and then it is as a sponsor. That is a different story, right?
Right.
So
Or if you're running a campaign. I understand when so you see this a lot of times with authors where they've got a new book that they want to get out there, and you'll see that they go on a tour basically for the book to begin promoting it. And no, Tony Robbins is a prime example that I think of. When he had that most recent book, Life Force, that came out, he went from being silent, you hadn't seen him on a podcast in years, to out of nowhere he was on everybody's podcast. Now, I'm sure a lot of those were people were excited just to have Tony come on because of his brand recognition, the audience that would come along because they see his name associated to the podcast. But at the same time, there are also other podcasts that they absolutely paid. His PR people reached out, and it was so that he can have the right to talk and promote his product in front of somebody else's audience. He paid for the right to do that. So people that are here that are brand new, you don't want to start off with paying to go and speak. It is ultimately going to make you look foolish, especially if you haven't developed your skill. You're literally going to pay to screw it up. And then once it's out there that you don't deliver, it's going to be a lot harder to get booked.
Yep. So, dude, such a great point. So before I did my 32 events, I had spoken on maybe 1 or 2 stages, and that was very informally. The first stage I ever spoke on was actually with Marlon. It was at Hunter and like that cruise event where we even got the Unlock Your Potential shirt. I still have that shirt. I know you still have that shirt too. And that was my first event that I'd ever spoken at, like as an entrepreneur. And the interesting thing there is, like, once I did my 32 events, right, guys, and we'll talk about like how to get booked and how to get the opportunities and how to get invited. And so the interesting thing is this, is you can pay to play, right? You can do outreach. Outreach is a thing. And so you can also pay an agency. There are PR agency, right? Who are public relations agencies, brand agencies, media buyer agencies. What they'll do is they'll represent you and they'll do all this outreach for you. And more often than not, the good ones, they'll have a ton of integration already built in. They'll already have friendly relationships with all these podcasts, all the stage events. They already know all the event coordinators. They already know who to chat with, how to talk to them, what to pitch them. They know how to package the entire deliverable, and the deliverable is you as a speaker. They know how to handle all that. But in the beginning, when you're just figuring it out, like I was, the interesting thing is, to Marlon's point, you have to freaking deliver, because word travels fast. And so when I did those 32 events in 18 months, the first event, like that was like, I got the invite, I was like full sending it. And then here's what's crazy. I'll be very real with you guys. Zero outreach for all 32 events, but one event led to the next. And it led to the next, and then it led to the next, and then it led to the next. Because here's the cool thing. All the event coordinators, right, the people who are the hosts, they all kind of hang out. Have you noticed, like, all the people who do meetups and who do events, like, they're all friends, and they usually kind of collaborate a little bit about like how to do events in their places, it's actually really kind of cool to see. It's its own unique little circle. So when you crush it for one of them, they will inherently talk to their friends. They will inherently talk to the next guy, and the next guy has his own event. And it creates this beautiful web kind of thing where it's like, dude, you and I spoke at Leah at Sumner's event, which was a phenomenal event. That was a paid mastermind event. So it's not even like a meetup where people show up to for free. It's like people paid like $1,000 to be there. They were all part of like a private mentorship. And you and I were asked to speak, and I ended up being the final speaker, which was like really nerve-wracking for me because we were talking about land investing at the time. And that all happened. We didn't even know Sumner before that event. We didn't even know the guy running the show. Why? Because someone that we knew, who was a friend, who knew that we were crushing on stages, who knew that we were taking it seriously, was like, you have to have these two boys on your stage. And so what ends up happening is this beautiful word of mouth effect. But the caveat is you have to commit to the process. You have to crush it. You have to be intentional. You have to deliver on, like, in the moment. And so how do we do that? We have to understand. And I think there's not many people who are better than, this is nothing against them. They've earned the right to do this. Some of the biggest, best speakers on stage, what they'll do is they'll show up to the event 15 minutes prior to their stage. They'll glad hand, the host, and they'll be backstage. They'll show up, they'll give one of their same 5 rehearsed core speeches, right? You have these things called core speeches, usually about 5 of them. If you guys have seen Ed Mylett on stage, Ed Mylett's got like 3 or 4 different things. There was like a 2-year span where every time Marlon and I saw him on stage, he had 1 of 2 stories to tell. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, it's just, he knows how to deliver that speech, that impact. And then I look at some people who do a little bit more legwork, right? A little bit more legwork. The guys like Ed Mylett, they're going to come in, crush it on stage, make everybody cry, right? Serve the host, help them sell $1 million of shit. And then he's going to be literally run out the back door, and he's back home in his mansion, wherever the heck he is, in Indian Wells, or Beverly Hills, within 2 hours. Like, that's the play when you're that big. When you're not that big and you have to make it and you have to make a name for yourself, don't act like a superstar. One big caveat I see with a lot of guys who want to get on stages is they act like a freaking celebrity because they believe their own hype because their face was on a freaking flyer. They think that they're a big deal now. The best speakers, Pace Morby showed up to town a few weeks ago, and I love the fact that he came in 2 hours early, did a meetup before his event, so he got to connect with people in the crowd before he got to go on stage. He got to love them. He got to meet them. He got to know their names. He hung out in the hallways. He asked them what's going on in their businesses, what's going on in their lives. And then people, in the world of speaking, a lot of speakers who are kind of full of themselves, they think like, oh, no, I can't hang out. I can't go to the hallways. I'm supposed to preserve my authority, and I'm only supposed to be on stage in and out. And then guys like Pace, they're like, I don't have that luxury. I'm not Ed Mylett. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go connect with every single person that I possibly can before it's time to get me on stage. And you know what's beautiful about that? By the time he gets on stage, he has created 50 brand new fans. And that's what's insane. And so when he's on stage, those 50 people that he connected with, because he flew in 2 hours early and was intentional about this, they're going to cheer the loudest for him. And a lot of those people may not even knew who he was. Maybe their first time meeting him, may have saw him on social media, but now they actually got a vibe and energy for him. They're going to be the loudest people in the room when he walks out on stage. And it's a lot of people are not willing to do that legwork, or they're not willing to put the ego aside and realize that I serve the host by understanding what it is they need from the event. Are they trying to sell a ticket? Are they trying to sell a course? Are they trying to sell a 20, 30K mastermind product, right? I need to understand that, guys, by the way, sponsors, the people who actually paid for the event to happen, you should want to serve them as well. You want to get on more stages. Fun fact, there was like a web effect where I spoke on a stage, and then from that event, I got like 4 more just back to back to back. I was on the road for like a month. The reason it happened is because there was a sponsor for this software product. And I was like, dude, this software product is dope. Like, I thought it was actually really cool. It was really innovative. And then I went on stage, and then in my hour-long presentation, I found a really cool, unique way to weave in their software product, right? Because I thought it was epic. I'm like, they seem super cool. They're in alignment with my core values. I'm like, let's highlight them on the stage. That was it. Apparently, it crushed for them that day. Because when they did their sponsored segment, like the person, guys, just so you guys know, usually when companies send out a sponsor segment, the person on stage usually kind of sucks at speaking at stage.
Usually,
because it's usually the founder of the company, and most founders of companies are not phenomenal public speakers. And then they were like, oh no, we actually sold nothing when we went up there. But then Sam, because of how you broke it in and put it into your story and intertwined it, we actually sold, like, beat our quota just based on you. And so you know what happened? The next 3 or 4 events that company was a sponsor for, they were like, you need to put Sam Singh on your stage. So then I had sponsors going out and just like getting me invitations to events. And then they would just hit me up like, hey, by the way, we're going to speak in front of this crowd we're sponsoring. We're going to be spending 10 grand to be a sponsor. We have a 15-minute segment. They have a 30-minute opening for a speaker. Like, we want you to speak. Can you fly out to Dallas next week? And I'm like, hell yeah. Awesome. And then you do this, right? And at no point do you pay. At no point do you have to pay. All you're doing is serving the audience, right? By catering the message to what they need to hear, by catering the speech to them, by helping the host get what they want, by helping the sponsors do what they want. Guys, sponsors, they're the sticky ones because they'll go sponsor everything. Like, they're already spending money, they're marketing, they're sending out reps, they're setting up booths. Trust me, if you want to have a relationship with anyone, it's the sponsors. And you'll see the same big sponsors, they go to every event. Every event. Guys, like who I love, and I'll shout him out, David Olds from Easy REI Closings. Dude, they're sponsors at like every event I'll ever go to. It's like, I don't even need to hang out with him. I don't even need to text him. He's a friend of mine. Like, I don't need to. I'm just going to see him at the next conference I speak at, because they'll be sponsors for sure. Because they're taking this business so seriously in advertising that they're willing to spend, they're willing to travel, they're willing to do all the things, build relationships with them. It's this transcendent kind of effect to it. And so, Marlon, anything you want to add on that before we move on?
Yeah, well, I want to bring it back to the point that you made, where the ones who take it serious, who show up beforehand, before it's their time to speak, and who don't hide in the backstage, who actually go out among the audience, go out, they shake the hands, they get to know people. Guys, there's 2 major competitive advantages when you do this. When you go out in the stage and you actually, from the stage and into the audience, and meet and greet with the people, one, you're going to build friends out there. So you're actually warming the audience up. So if you're somebody that maybe feels a little uncomfortable, you feel a little worried, I'm going to screw up. Well, let me ask you, do you get into your head when you're hanging out and talking to your friends? I don't. Right? Like, when I'm on the phone with Sam or hanging out with other buddies, like, I don't freak out about talking to my best friends. And so when you take the time to show up early and engage with these people, you make them your friends. It's going to be a warmer audience that you talk to. But also, when you do this, you do start to understand the needs and the desires and the why people are there. And you actually start to be able to fine tune your speech, fine tune your keynote to serve them more particularly. One thing I like about what Sam and I do is when we're going to go out and we're invited to speak, we love interviewing the host before we get there. We make it a point that we set aside time to understand what is their intention. We don't want to guess at it, right? It's like I hate guessing at things. I want to know specifically. And if they don't have a specific, we'll actually help them and we'll coach them through understanding their own intentionality, how to get the most out of it. But typically, we deal with guys who do this at a high level and they understand what they're trying to get, whether it's a fulfillment product or a fulfillment event where they're seeking to serve their audience at the highest level. These are people who have already come into their world, who've already transacted with them, and they now want to do a give back. Or this is a cold audience for them, and they maybe want to convert that audience. Either way is fine. But once we understand what their intention is as well, we're able to fine tune, because Sam said we want to serve them. We're able to fine tune our deliverable to help further their agenda, not our own. It's so massively critical that you think in terms of how can I serve the host. So Sam, you're hitting the nail on the head by like letting people know this, because I think people get, if the only reason you're nervous to speak on stage is because you're still thinking about yourself too much. That's the only reason you're nervous. If you start making it about
have
the other
enough friends
person,
in the audience.
yeah. If you start making it about the other people, I promise you the nerves go away.
It's funny to Marlon's point. I remember the first time you and I jumped on a 3-way call with an event host, and we were like grilling them, and they'd put like 50,000-60,000 into that event that day, and actually probably more than that. It was probably 6 figures into that event, and we were like grilling them. It's like cool, like, and it was funny because like me, because I'm such a marketer, I'm like, tell me about your ascension. What does your funnel look like? Like where, okay, so this ticket costs $1,000, right? This is not your top of funnel. You've got a free YouTube, and that's where you get people, and then you eventually sell them a $200 thing, and then eventually after 6 months of consuming your $200 thing and building a relationship with you, you then sell them on this $1,000 ticket here, and the point of this $1,000 ticket is to ascend them to a $10,000 thing, and simultaneously drive massive value to these people and make it worth it. And I'm like, cool. And it was funny because we kind of took, I remember he specifically was a little bit taken back. He's like, man, none of the other people were doing this for us. Like none of the other sponsors, none of the other speakers. And we're like, yeah, because they were there to present something they wanted to present on. And we're here to do what we need to do for you and your group. And like, that is the difference. And so, and I want you to truly understand this, guys, tactically, okay, just a little tips here. Never be freaking late. Never be freaking late. You want to make sure you are, oh my God, the amount of work. So Stratton Brown, who's, someone I consider inner circle, him, Jason Pritchard, I consider both those guys to be inner circle for me now. They threw an amazing 2-day event here in Central California. Pace and Laura were the keynotes. It was such a beautiful event. They put months and months and months into this. And the amount that goes into these things, guys, from venues to sponsors to catering to videography to just like things like, and it was amazing to see. They sent Rolls Royces to pick up the speakers from the airport who flew in. They had customized merch for all of these people, like beautiful, beautiful things that they went above and beyond. What you never want to do is you never want to be the speaker who ever comes across like they're more important than the event.
Yep.
That is the number one, like cardinal rule. Don't ever do that. Do not be late ever. And here's why. Number one, just so you guys know, every event always runs late no matter what. I've never been to an event that has started on time, stayed on time, never went over. There's always going to be late, and that's okay. Your job, though, is if they tell you that you're going to be on stage at 1 p.m., like you need to be in the hallways at 11 a.m. meeting people, being ready to go, being ready to be whisked off whenever you got to be on stage. You have to be dynamic. You have to be there to serve the event, not serve yourself. And number two, they give you a 45-minute slot. Big key here. Big key. Because very often with the people who are the most established, hosts, the one who you're like the guy who's running the show, the guy who's emceeing, the guy whose face is on it, very often he's not actually the one running it. They have like an event coordinator behind the scenes who's actually managing all the logistics. And that's, that's usually the person who's like running around like a chicken with their head cut off. They're just so stressed. And Marlon, you and I do a really good job of spotting that person a mile away. And we're like, that chick with the clipboard who looks stressed out of her mind, that's the event coordinator. That's who we got to go drive value to. Okay. She needs help. Like, and I'll give you guys some really good tips on this, but you got a 45-minute slot. Don't take 45 minutes. Finish in 40. Yep. 40 is your number. Like that is it. 30-minute slot, 25 max is your number. The reason why is they're already going to be late. They're already going to be running late. You are helping them get back on track. And when they have 8 speakers that day to go up on stage, and you're the only one who helped them get back into the positive, trust me, you're not doing that for the audience. You're not even doing that for the guy whose name's on it. You're doing it for the event coordinator who's stressing out of their damn mind because things are running so late. Marlon and I do a really phenomenal job like finding it. And it's usually a female, because women are so much more detail oriented than men. Guys, by the way, if you want to throw events, like get a woman to come and help you. Trust me, it'll be 20 times better, because guys are shit at this, absolute crap at this. They're so much more detail oriented. They keep things running very smoothly. Help them. And then another way to help them is in Ron, I'll let you say this, but really quick. Yep. Until you are big, until you have the luxury and the privilege to come in, speak, and then just dip out, stay longer, stay after your event, show up early, not just to meet the crowd. Here's another big thing you can do. When other speakers are on stage, don't be backstage if you can help it. Be out in the crowd, be in the side, in the back, standing up, cheering on other speakers. Because you want to get more stage events, guess what? All those other speakers, they're in the same boat you are, right? They're trying to make it. They're trying to go big. A lot of them may be ahead of the journey, ahead further in the journey than you are. And so if they see you out in the crowd supporting the hell out of them, taking social media footage, like every time Marlon's on stage, I love Marlon. I'm paying attention to, I'm taking notes on what he's saying. I'm paying attention to his delivery. I'm like figuring out points so I can like just be like, dude, you absolutely crushed it on this. You sucked on this. These are all things we need to work on. Simultaneously, I'm also getting as much goddamn B-roll footage that I can on my phone of Marlon. Why? Because Marlon's going to want that for content. And so when you're at the event, show up early, right, to meet the people, stay as late as humanly possible that you can, watch all the other speakers speak, get as much content that you can, because you're showing them that you're paying attention. You're showing them that you're supporting them. You're caring about them. You will build amazing friends who are in the same journey as you are. And what will happen is like then favors start coming in, then invites start coming in. Beautiful thing about a lot of those speakers, they all have their own coaching programs. They all have their own communities. They all have their own events that they're going to start throwing too. And when time comes for them to start looking for speakers, looking for people they want to bring in, they have a very short list of people. And it's other speakers who came up who were supportive of them in their journey. And I don't think anyone does that. And then one thing I love about me and Marlon, it's funny, you and I never look for we never look for like a pat on the back for this, but every time we've done it, especially I remember it was with Sumner and his entire team, we stayed there and we helped to like nighttime cleanup. And it's like, if you can swallow your pride and help the event coordinator put chairs away, put tables away, right? Help the event staff do their thing, right? Take care of like the minimum wage guy who's just cleaning up and like show and like be a human to him. Everyone pays attention. And you should do this stuff not even to get more events. You should do this stuff because it's the right thing to do as a human being if you're raised right. But from a very like truthfully tactical standpoint, everyone pays attention. And they will see that you're different than all the other 8 speakers who showed up, spoke for 30 minutes, and they dipped out and they got back on a plane and they're gone. You're the guy who stayed, highlighted everyone else, loved on everyone else, loved on the keynote, loved on the other speakers, loved on the host, but also loved on the volunteers who aren't even being paid for their time by helping them clean up the trash.
100%.
Do that. I swear to you, you will get as many stage events as you could ever want. You will get to a point where you'll have to turn things down. Do all of this over and over and over again. Guys, I haven't spoken on the stage in a year now because I wanted to focus on just growing my business. And truthfully, 32 events in 18 months, it's a massive toll on like physically. It just becomes a super big toll. Marlon, you remember I was just sick for that entire 18 months straight. I was just sick as hell. And it's funny. Over this entire year that I haven't been speaking on stage, probably once every other week, I've been invited to speak on a new stage that I've had to turn down. And what's crazy is the stages that I keep getting invited to speak on are bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like a month and a half, 2 months ago, I turned down my biggest stage event. It was a paid event. For me, it's huge, right? Like, don't compare me to guys like Pace who, speak at Madison Square Garden. But for me, it was huge. It was a paid event with 600 people, like 600 ticket holders. And the minimum ticket was like $500. Like $500 all the way to like a $3,000 VIP ticket. And they wanted me for a 45-minute slot. And I had to turn it down. And it's like, all of this happens, and you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay to play. All you have to do is have a story that is worth telling, that people want to hear, and you have to serve everyone around you except for yourself. Fun fact, when you do that, inevitably, you will be served just as much as everyone else. So, okay, Marlon, I'm done.
Dude, I love it. I'm not going to start opening anything up because then we are going to absolutely be over on time here tonight. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to wrap this up. But guys, this was that. I mean, this was a masterclass. I saw someone say, like, thank you for the masterclass. Like, this, in my opinion, is a masterclass on being able to go out and speak on stages, on how to do it right. And it's not what most people think. So I'm going to have you pay your dues now. If you got value from being here tonight, right now, click on the like button on this video so that the algorithm can show you more videos like this. It can help find more people similar to us, that we can all grow from this content. And then share this with a friend. Share this video. If you know someone who's been wanting to get on stage, it's an aspiration, it's a goal of theirs to be able to go out and speak, to influence, to serve others, make sure that they see this. All right, guys, next week we'll be back with another episode of the Think Big podcast. We appreciate you. We love you.